Oh, Andrea Tessmann.
Yes, Kirk Buchner.
You know, you're taking us to June 10th, 1972, where the biggest movie was The Godfather. We're not talking about The Godfather, are we?
Nope, we are not.
We're talking about Candyman by Sammy Davis Jr. We've got a lot to try to figure out as to, and I think we haven't really done this enough. How the hell did this go to number one?
It's true. We've done a lot of great songs, but we've done a lot less of these fucking weird songs. This is a children's song. It was written for a children's movie.
Yeah, you know what though, Joe? I gotta admit something. When you said we were going to be talking about Willy Wonka, I couldn't remember that this was actually in Willy Wonka first. I had a lot of flashbacks because I tried to rewatch the original movie. Because, in my research, I didn't know that actually this was in Willy Wonka. I didn't remember that. So I rewatched Willy Wonka. I wish I didn't.
Did you have some acid flashbacks or something?
No, I mean childhood trauma, actually. So, like, for the younger people, because for the younger people who are listening, and I include you in this because I don't think this wasn't quite the same. This is where our 10-year age gap sort of shows a little bit. When a movie would come out in the 70s or early 70s and stuff like that, if you wanted to see it, especially if you were like a little kid, and I don't know that I necessarily wanted to see Willy Wonka, but I knew from what little I knew of it, it was marketed towards someone like me. And so it finally was on regular TV. God, maybe I would have been 6 or 7, and I saw it, and I was scared. What the fuck's happening to these bratty kids? I'm a shitty kid. I was a bastard.
It's terrifying. He's murdering children, and nobody had any issue with it.
No, and I would have been one of those guys because I knew I was badly behaved. I would have been dead. I would have won this. I would have made a dick of myself, and I would have never been heard from again. Or in some kind of secret layer, like in some weird, creepy Michael Jackson fantasy. I was a cute kid. So,
did you ever read the book?
Yes.
Or any of Roald Dahl?
Yes, I did.
This stuff is dark. Like, you think of the witches where they're literally killing and eating children. Mm-hmm. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like, it's pretty weird, twisted, dark stuff. And I loved it as a kid. I still enjoy some of his stuff now. There's some good morals and, murdering annoying children. So there's that.
Yeah, but you were probably a good kid, Andrea. I was a shit.
I picture you as very much a Dennis the Menace type.
I probably had the same haircut, too. I had the bright blonde hair sticking out everywhere, stuff like that. Wasn't necessarily causing mischief, but with a slingshot, but usually with my words and doing the temper tantrum shit.
I believe that.
There was, you didn't have to jump so fast.
So Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka. I love Gene Wilder. I
do too.
And I think he did a really good job of the movie of Willy Wonka. I think, although I also love Johnny Depp, I thought his version got a little too absurd. Mm-hmm. It was like you watched the original as a teenager and did a bunch of mushrooms and then remade it as an adult.
While he was doing mushrooms.
A bunch of mushrooms.
Yeah. Johnny
Depp.
Depp.
You look at Johnny Depp's movies, his fantasy movies like Alice in Wonderland, and he plays the same character over and over again in these movies, and it is that warped mushroom style character. Mm-hmm. Although, I mean, Alice in Wonderland is pretty much just about doing drugs anyways, so there's that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember though too, because like I when I rewatched a bit of this, I have to say a bit because I didn't watch the whole thing. I was getting too many flashbacks, and it reminded me why I'm afraid of like grown people who are under 4 feet, because they're going to take me away, and God knows what. God knows. Where did the Candyman song come from in that song? I must have fast forwarded through it.
It's early in the movie, and it's sung by the candy shop owner when he's giving these kids all this free candy, which is weird because you own a candy shop. Why are you giving away all your product? But so the kids are all running around the store pigging out on free candy, and Charlie is looking through the window at them, wishing he had some money to buy some candy. And then I think right after that, if I recall correctly, is when he finds $1 or whatever on the ground and goes in to buy a chocolate bar. So it's actually the candy shop owner dude's character that sings it. Okay. And then, so if you read about the song and about the writers of the song, the one guy who wrote it thought that the actor did a terrible job and actually wanted to re-record the whole bit himself and offered to even pay for it because he disliked the version so badly. But the studio said no. And so it was a slightly creepy original version that ended up in the movie.
You know, imagine you say like slightly creepy, because you have to say slightly creepy in a movie that is completely creepy. Like that is the least creepy thing in that film.
We're told not to take candy from strangers.
We are.
So, maybe we should listen to that advice more often.
Unless they're wearing a purple hat. But yeah, you're right about Gene Wilder over Johnny Depp, because I did watch the Depp version 2 years ago. So it's, I don't want to say fresh in my mind, but fresh enough. Relatively speaking. So the movie came out, and then, as I said, I can't remember his name right now, but the one writer of the song decided he was going to put out his own version of it, but before he could, I can't remember which record label it was now, decided that... they're all horrible, Andrea. It doesn't matter which one.
I know. So they decided that Sammy Davis Jr. should do a version of the song.
Yeah, which he didn't want to... He hated it, yeah. Can we sort of like look at Sammy Davis Jr. at that point in time? Because that's sort of what I was focusing on. Did you, when we were living near each other, did you ever meet somebody who worked for me? Got a a teenager named Shannon?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I might have at one of our many parties. Yeah.
So it was just someone who, I had a few teens who worked for me, and I know that sounds creepy after what we just discussed, but I helped run a train station, and you hire a lot of teens, and which was what you do in the mountains. But this kid was so far ahead of his time. He would wear suits just around. Like he was like if you saw the Rat Pack, he would have fit right in with that. And I don't know. He was. I don't know that he was necessarily the Sinatra of that whole thing, but there's a certain class to that whole Rat Pack era that I always.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm fascinated by. The Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, not the other two. The other two were worthless.
Nobody remembers the other two, anyways.
No.
One of them was Kennedy's nephew or cousin or something.
Yeah, Peter Lawford, and is it Joey Bishop was the fifth?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it could have been. It doesn't matter. Either way, Sammy Davis Jr. is part of this class era, this old style Vegas, where he was super cool without really having to make much of an effort. Just how I feel about Sinatra and Dean Martin, and to a lesser degree, Sammy.
So they really, they had that image that every man wanted to be. They were cool. They had all the money, the women. They joked around on stage and had fun, and just generally seemed like they had no cares in the world. And I was never really looked into Sammy Davis Jr. before. I liked his music well enough, but beyond that, I didn't really know anything about him. But I always knew it was weird to me to have such a popular performer who was black in the 50s. And so I got quite fascinated looking into him this week, in terms of just what he did and how he was treated. He was doing shows in Vegas, and he wasn't actually allowed to stay in the hotel.
Yeah, can you imagine that? He had to stay
in a rooming house on the outskirts of town. I don't think he was even allowed into the casino at that point. Though in the 60s, when he was playing in Vegas, he apparently lost a ton of money gambling, which was quite funny. They were earning something like $25,000 a week, and he left there after however many months, owing them $80,000 in gambling debts or something stupid like that.
That's insane. Well, also too,
at least that's what he said on the Letterman interview. Whether that's real or not remains to be seen.
Well, he died, turns out, broke, which I guess his wife did, at the time
beyond
didn't know.
Broke.
Yeah, beyond broke. Yeah.
Yeah, he died with his estate being worth $4-point-something million, but owing $5.7 million to the IRS.
Jesus.
So yeah, his wife had to work all of that out. And then I'm sure there's some pretty sweet residuals off of his music, though.
If he owned it?
I believe he did. At least some of the rights to it. I didn't see anything about him losing rights to stuff. So I'm sure that the estate, it did say somewhere that his son with his third wife took over managing the estate after. So, I think, so there was something still to be managed.
Yeah, I think you're onto something though too, because like for a lot of people, I solicited the advice of my dad, and I said, "Dad, what do you remember about Sammy Davis Jr.?" Well, he's black, and well, he was little. What else do you remember about his music? Well, he was black and little, and he did the Candy song. Like, oh, Jesus. Thanks, Dad. My dad was never a paragon of pop culture. But when I look back at all of that, I'm trying to think, like, how many black stars in the late 50s and throughout the whole decade of the 60s were sort of, like, brought into a mainstream. And I know there's this trope of the white savior, and I guess we can sort of say that Frank Sinatra was that, but okay, they were legit pals. You can't fake that type of camaraderie, and Sinatra did fight to have Sammy in some of those movies. Like I think I read, this is some time ago, like in the original Ocean's 11, he said, like, no, Sammy's going to be in this movie, and it didn't matter that, because they were all like army buddies in the World War II, which couldn't have possibly happened because it was segregated then. And Frank said, screw that. That's how it's going to be. Which is pretty cool. Because there's a lot of shitty stories on Frank Sinatra. Nice to hear a good one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, Sammy Davis Jr., he went through some... He always, if you watched any of the interviews with him, he just got this jovial, big smile, over-the-top laugh. And he just always looks like he's having a good time. And he went through some shit. He was dating a white woman and then was threatened by mobsters about it and had to find a black woman to marry in 2 days. So he paid her somewhere, I don't know if it was somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000. I don't know how much it actually was because I don't know. I couldn't find that for sure. But
well, he did marry. He did marry a white woman, I believe, in 19.
Oh yeah, after. Yeah, so, yeah. But this first wife, they were married for less than a year, and he basically almost committed suicide on his wedding night because he was forced to break up with his girlfriend and marry someone else, and just completely felt like he had no control over his life.
Was that Kim Novak? Because I was reading, I just learned that this week that he used to date actress Kim Novak, who people would know from The Birds. Yeah, that was Kim Novak. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. And then he did end up marrying a white woman, and got uninvited to perform at JFK's inauguration.
Yeah, can we talk about a bit about that?
Sure.
Yeah, because that's sort of like going. This is sort of going to foreshadow, I guess, my theory later as to how this song became a hit. And so, going before that, yes, he was uninvited to that, but he also campaigned along with Sinatra and Dean for JFK.
Yeah.
JFK, I would argue, and I think it's an easy argument, was really the first pop culture president that the U.S. ever had. Reagan being the second, Obama being the third. And the celebrity that sort of came with that helped there. And then JFK, I mean, like, let's be straight, that's a dick move.
Absolutely. I really kind of wonder, was the only reason that JFK is remembered fondly because he was handsome and got shot? Like, the more I hear about him, the more he sounds like a dick. Known philanderer.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know,
that might be a deep dive for another conversation, but I think I do think you're onto something. There is a lot of things politically that I personally respect about the guy. Having said that, yes, known philanderer, nobody really seemed to give a shit because I guess when you're that good looking, apparently, okay. You're a woman attracted to men. I'm a man not attracted to men. Is JFK good looking? Because I don't see it. I guess.
Yeah, he's got some classic good looks to him with a strong jawline and
and the power too, I suppose.
Power and money. Women drop their panties for power and money.
The only experience I have is from begging and alcohol.
Oh dear.
Yeah, well.
So anyways, back to Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes. Well, so with that, I mean, so he did campaign for his brother RFK, and in '68, and then RFK, another person who was shot. 72, and I only just learned this recently. He campaigned for Nixon, a Republican.
He did.
I didn't know that.
He was even invited to stay. He stayed a night in the Lincoln bedroom. He was the first black man to ever stay overnight in the White House.
Isn't that insane to learn that?
Yeah.
Like that would not have been the president, I would have thought, would have been the first person to sort of do that. But it happened under Nixon. So that would have been 72. This song is 72. So here you have Sammy Davis Jr., who is one of those people who, I don't want to say forced down your throat if you're sort of like a white person sort of like watching pop culture, but he was there. He's not just singing R&B. He's doing pop standards, hanging out with Sinatra. He's hanging out with people that you love. He's almost accessible to you if you're a middle-aged or younger white person in 72. Am I onto something here?
I suppose. Are you saying that people liked Candyman because they felt woke?
I think fake woke, yes. Yes, I
Even
totally
though woke
do.
wasn't a thing in 72, but I get where you're going with that.
Well, I don't want to say necessarily woke. It's just like Chris Rock did a joke when Obama became president. He said, like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of white people. I'm paraphrasing because I don't really remember what the exact joke is. But he says, yeah, there's a lot of white people who love Obama. And they say, well, look at that. Look at all these white people love this black guy. Yeah, they say, but they're not really loving a black guy, which is basically his way of saying that Obama didn't act black.
Everything about Sammy Davis Jr. is a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really wonder what he was actually like because, I mean, he was performing since he was 3. There's a clip of him when he was 5.5 from a movie that he was in where he sings You Rascal You. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal you. And he then does this crazy tap dance routine. And he's 5.5. And he still is just all camp and showmanship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, he was brought up by his father, who was a performer, and his godfather, who was a performer. And they all performed together. And
Sammy Davis Sr.
He was incredibly well-spoken for a man who wasn't educated and only learned to write when he was in the Army.
And he went through some horrendous shit in the Army, too, just with the whole racism crap that existed.
Racism and then his size. And, yeah, he said the only thing that saved him was that he ended up in whatever the performance corps is. That so he was actually then performing often for the guys who beat him up. And that's why his nose is flat, basically, is because it was broken so many times that
I didn't read that.
Was never going to recover. Yeah, apparently it was broken multiple times to the point that it was just like there was no fixing it.
So,
and I have to say, for a man with one eye, that's a really good glass eye. I just thought he had a lazy eye. I didn't realize it was a glass eye.
Yeah, no, that was something I learned pretty early on, actually, about him. So that was not really a shock to sort of see how it looked a little different. He used to joke, I read too, because he became loved to golf. So
the handicap joke?
Yeah. So what's your handicap? Well, I'm a short Negro who's Jewish and with one eye.
Yep.
But I think, as much as he sort of made fun of himself and became a caricature, it also was a great defense mechanism. And for a lot of people, which is so weird for you and I to think, and I consider myself old, but it's again, so weird to hear that, or to think, rather, which it might be more accurate, that for a lot of people, that was the first black entertainer that they respected.
Yeah, it was the first that wasn't, minstrel show style novelty act.
And I think Sinatra has a lot to do with that. Just him saying, this is my friend. Oh, is your black friend? No, he's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And, there should be... I don't know. I don't want to say that there's a lot of that success should go on Sinatra, but because it feels wrong to say it, but I don't think that's wrong.
What I have to say, I don't think you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that there's a lot of better songs that he did than this. Oh my
God, yes.
So how the fuck did this one go to number one?
Okay, so let's look at that. So we have 1972, where there's a whole lot of people on dope. And just doing God knows what, experimenting with everything. We're a year removed from a movie, and this is back when a movie would sort of stay in your public consciousness for a lot longer. This was the era of blockbusters, or not. Well, it wasn't really blockbuster, but just
before Blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you still want to learn more about that.
It's the era of everybody goes to the theater to see the movie.
Right. This to me is a lifetime achievement award almost, because here Sammy would have been in his mid-40s, probably around my age now.
Career starting to decline.
Yeah, doing a cute song that is harmless. So if you're a kid, like, oh, I like candy. If your parent, oh, Sammy, well, we like Sammy. If you were a teen, he's giving me candy. Want to know what kind of candy I got? It's a fluke. It's a fluke that just sort of happened to appeal. That's what it is. Other great songs out right at this time. Bill Withers.
That did Lean on Me.
That went number one, though, didn't it?
I think it did, but I think when this one was number one, it was about number 7.
Yeah.
Or something like that. There was just incredibly good music out there.
This was a thank you, Sammy.
I'm pretty sure there was CCR on the top 40. There was Laundry List.
And
this one somehow made it for 3 weeks.
It's a thank you, Sammy, and it's like, oh, you like Nixon.
And he apparently hated the song, didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling at that point in his career, he'd already peaked. His career was kind of on the down slope, and he was just being told what to do. I think he was probably, as many successful musicians are, he was a bit of a puppet of the recording label. So if they tell you you're doing this, you do it. And at some point he was quoted as saying he thought that it was going to be a career ender. So
when it became a hit, yeah. But I think also too, it would have been 72. So he would have been in the music business. Oh God, or in some capacity for near 40 years, and he's recording this. I don't care how savvy you are. There's no way you're recording this thinking, well, no, it's just going to be buried in the back of an album. But I did find one clip where he was performing the song when it actually was at number one, or maybe the week after. And again, he's just such a likable guy. And he was just thanking all the people listening, for that. It's like the fact that he hated the song, you'd never know it when you were watching him. It's just like...
And I saw him, you probably saw it too, him performing it much later and literally thanking people again for all the success of it over the years. So,
and it was his only number one.
Only number one.
Yeah. For me, Sammy Davis Jr., I guess as a kid, will always be Fender Bomb from the Cannonball Run.
I didn't even clue into that one.
Oh, yeah, with him and Dean Martin.
I gotta say that I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but that's going to be on the rewatch list again. I have to say my favorite cameo or whatever appearance would be All in the Family.
Oh, yes.
When he kissed Archie Bunker.
Yeah, which was, I believe, the only time that show ever did like a stunt guest star.
Could be.
I think
so. But it's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then I have to say because this song has been remade a billion times and spoofed a billion times, but the Garbage Man Can, the Simpsons episode, is got to be my favorite. And because they do the full song and dance. It's not just a little bit. It's literally the Garbage Man Can. What is he? He can take out the trash and stomp it down too. He'll shake the plastic bags and do the twisty thing too. The Garbage Man Can.
You can change a diaper. I don't mind at all. Yeah, like Homer ruins the city in like 1 month, and then they have to actually relocate the whole city. And no one's mad at Homer, which is amazing. I think my favorite bit though is, which almost is tying in with so much politics that we talked about, where when Homer wins that before, and he's just making all these dumb promises. Mm-hmm. And what was he? I think it was Alex Rocco who voiced this. Why I remember this? Who was also in The Godfather? No, yeah, he was in The Godfather. It was Mo Green. So it's like, okay, if you want to like vote for stupid promises, vote for Homer Simpson. If you want a competent, custodial, whatever the hell it was, like vote for me. And then 3 weeks later, or like a month later, they tried to welcome him back, and he says, "Sorry, you're all screwed." Stuff like that.
That's brilliant.
Which almost feels so perfect for so much politics. Almost regardless of what side of the aisle. But I think that's enough of that. I'm going to leave with this. I'm going to spend a bit of time to learn a lot more about Sammy Davis Jr. and some of the shit that he went through, and just the fact that he did it all with a smile, because that takes a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got quite a bit of respect for the guy. Absolutely. And he died really young and tragically with his... Well, I mean, he smoked like 4 packs a day.
I honestly...
cancer and...
Yeah, I can't say it's tragic when he kind of medically brought it on himself.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's sad. He was only, 65, 68, something like that.
Yeah. In his last few years, he aged so bad. So I got a hunk of shit for you next week.
Oh, hit me! What are we doing?
All right,
where are we going?
Maybe you might not think it is. I certainly do. I think this is the song where we knew that they were selling out for years before, but once this came out and it hit the wedding dance floors, it was over. Even though this was like one of the.
Please tell me it wasn't Macarena.
No, because I can't say that they sold out. This is a very popular group that did exceptionally, did very, very well. But we're gonna be in this millennium here. I'm going with "I Got a Feeling" by the Black Eyed Peas.
I got a feeling.
Yep. An awful song that once we heard it, we knew they said, "We have no artistic credibility left whatsoever. We're all about the money."
I mean, come on. How about my humps, my lovely lady lumps?
No, I don't. Okay, maybe. All right. You know what?
They've done a lot of crap.
They've done an awful lot of crap, but this was the crap where they said, "Hey, if you're in your 40s." And you're going to a wedding, this is a hit. And they had just enough credo that they could sort of keep going with this. And this was a monster hit, and I hate it. And that's what we're talking about next week.
All right. I unfortunately know the lyrics to most of that song.
Huh? I'm sure working at a hotel, you've probably heard that. And many things, and seen many yentas dance to it.
I have. Yes.
That's where we're going next week. Sorry.
All right. Black Eyed Peas.
All right.
Hey, no need to apologize. This is what we do.
All right.
We talk about terrible music.
More often than not, yes. All right. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe, Andrea.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.